나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 Hello, everyone. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thanks for being here. Welcome if this is your first time. Today, we're going to talk about the third noble truth. Take these off. So, just as a brief recap, the first noble truth, life consists of suffering. If that was all you ever heard of the Buddha's words, there are many translations, and that would be arguably a westernization that's far too concatenated. If that was true of Buddhism, life is suffering, like an equal sign, life equals suffering, why bother? Why bother practicing Buddhism? Okay, deal with it, right? But we learned in the First Noble Truth that we need to decouple those two. That life is one thing and suffering is something entirely other. But the two are equatable. Just like energy and mass are equatable. So I tried, as I have in many videos, especially if you'll go to the playlist on the 3,000 Realms or the Origins of Life, to use words, to use superficial, I'll say, mathematical language, quantum language, without getting super deep into the science, how to disassemble what it is that we're talking about when we say life, right? Life has this process that is combinatory. I'll make up a word. I like that word because it's about combination. It's not attraction because that's more of a volitional thing. It's just the nature of energy gathering mass, creating mass from energies, the way things combine, and ultimately results in this body and this brain and this mind, which only exists in this instance, this manifestation of a sentient being, right? Now, suffering, that's an experiential thing. So on the one hand, we have kind of a cause and effect, submolecular, subatomic, subparticle relationship of energies combining and creating, manifesting mass, matter, organisms, cells, molecules, right? The process of life continues through time. Perception. Time is a perception. It's created via space for these manifestations to incur. And then there's, on the other side of the equal sign, life equals suffering, a perception, a perceptive, an experiential component. So you see, you need to decouple those two. Life, on the one hand, the process, and on the other hand, the perception of that process. And because our initial perception, as we are manifest in mind, is also combinatory, gathering, data collecting, putting together, we tend to become emotionally invested in every delineation and distinction we make. And therefore we commit to hanging on to those definitions and distinctions in a way that really, even though not consciously, we are trying to make permanent. I know that. It's like the child in the car on a long car trip hitting the button. Well, we don't have buttons anymore on radios, but you know what I mean. Programmed channels, if you will. And just every time they recognize a song, oh, I know that song, click new channel. Oh, I know that song, click new channel. Oh, I don't know that song, let's sit here for a minute. Oh, okay, I don't like that song. Click. Constantly going from one to another. Attached. Storing. Making permanent. This is the process in sentient life that precipitates suffering. Because it's the idea that once identified, that is what it is and it will never be anything else. And one of the primary teachings of Buddhism is that, hello, everything is in a state of flux all the time, moment to moment. There never is a thing that is that thing forever and a day, to borrow from a song, right? This is life. Life is a constantly moving target. It's never the same, moment to moment. And our ego, our sense of self, is also a construction of identity being this and not that. But guess what? If you've lived more than 10 years on this planet, you already know that you are now not what you were. And your dreams are about what you will be, not what you are. We already know this, but we don't act like we know it. And that's the very problem. So life equates to suffering because we, as a product of life, want to experience something that is not true. We want to make life permanent. Ask yourself why death is such a cataclysmic thing to think about. Because it obviates that we're not permanent. That's where all this fancy magical thinking of eternity and all this other religious nonsense comes from. Magical thinking that somehow after we die, we'll go to some other, planet, cloud, place? What? Think about that. Think about it. Your experience begins and ends in each moment of this existence. See, we call that life too, so that's why it starts to get confusing. There's a life, the process, and there's a life experienced. But that's why this experience is so precious, because it's limited, so you might as well get the full idea of it before it's too late, and you can no longer get it. This is what Buddhism is all about. And the second noble truth, right? That it is our attachments, our desire to make permanent, That's what causes the suffering. So now, after this first statement, life is suffering, that sounds nonsensical, the second statement is, it's that suffering that makes life intolerable. Now I'm starting to get it. See, he's decoupling it. And now we're on the third noble truth, which is kind of like going to the doctor and saying, "Doctor, it hurts when I do this." And the doctor says, "Stop doing that." The third, again, as a minimal kind of translation, if you want to live a happy life, stop suffering. It's not exactly like that, is it? We have to cease the formations of these attachments, these delusions of making permanent, in order to change our perceptive attitude and our mind to see clearly the magnificence of the life process that we are spun from, that we manifest from. Oh, look at this. I have to stop trying to make permanent. Stop attaching myself to all these things that are not these things. They're constantly decaying, going away. And it prevents me from seeing new things, because I'm so busy attached to these old things. Stop that thinking. Stop it. And relax for a moment and see the beauty, the amazing process of life. That's what the third noble truth is about. And Georgie, I'm thinking of you right now. Georgie's one of our wonderful members from the UK. And she always writes such wonderfully intricate emails. I love them. Recently, it was not recently, but she's just let me know recently that she's come across this struggle with the term oneness in Buddhism. We hear it all the time, right? It's another one of those cliches. If you understand or begin to understand the first noble truth, and certainly my dialogue about it, and the second noble truth, and now the third noble truth, we have decoupled life, the process, from experience, whether it's suffering or joy or liberation or awakening. That is a human mind experience of the life process. I think it becomes more clear that when a word like oneness is used in vernacular to describe Buddhist thought, it's wholly inadequate. But think of it in terms of the life process. If we just, again, uncouple our emotions and our thinking and classification mind about it, and we just look rawly at manifestation, the process of life, right? In fact, I'm going to link to a video in the description of this when I put it up online. It'll either be in the description or the first comment. There's a show you can find on YouTube. It's a PBS show called Space Time. I think that's the name of it. Great moderator. Gets very technical, so I caution you, if you're not into that stuff, don't bother. But this one video, and I'll put the link to it underneath, he talks about how quantum mechanical knowledge or experience manifests in this classical world, right? Because in I know this may be too technical, but just hang out for a second. This physical world, right? This stuff operates on a certain level of manifestation, existence, decay, and obliteration. We observe that at our level of being. But we know scientifically, mathematically, that at the tiniest manifestations of energy, when energy turns to mass, when mass turns to matter, the reactions that are very, 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 very subatomic, right? We're talking quarks and muons and so on and so forth, boson, fermion, right? If you're into that at all, or you're just curious about it, you don't have to be a scientist, but as a mental experiment, that quantum world of isn't at the same time, superposition and entanglement, those things. I think in light of Buddhism and understanding the process of life, it's fascinating to listen to a scientist discuss how we experience that almost magical kind of knowable energy to matter equation in this world, this classical physics world. How do we experience that? And to watch this scientist struggle, and he's a gifted moderator, let me tell you. He understands how to use language, and even I think he sees, I don't know how much time he and his team spend scripting his shows, but he avoids making word salad in a way that I can only envy. But that may be a very fascinating video for you, so that I'll put a link to that. Anyway, back on track. The third noble truth is about letting go of the formation of that attached experience. So we've talked in 1 and 2 about life and its process. And now we're focusing in the third one about our perception of that process. And in the third noble truth, what Shakyamuni is saying is that you need to change your mind. You need to change your perceptive mind so that rather than being identifying and cataloging every experience, you instead kind of unlock that, open all the cages, break down the cabinet of cubbies, and just look at the whole spectrum of what's going on and detach, decouple yourself from this immersive human sentient experience of cataloging and hanging on to everything, and try to identify when that happens. In each moment when you go, oh, bobble, catch it, and go, that's an interesting event. That's not a thing. It's not a this or a that. It's a event within this entire scope of experience. Now it's free to just be without your cataloging it, without your giving it a name, right? Nama rupa, name and form. Just observe it. Don't invest your very identity, your ego, your self. That is not your event. It is an event, and you are witnessing it. What an amazing thing to become a witness to the drama of life in its instantiations, rather than an owner to possess the instantiations of life. That's where the suffering is. That's what you need to stop. That's what you need to learn how to be with, of. That's another oneness. To go with the energy of the life process. Become one with it, rather than one who distinguishes it and categorizes it. That distances you from it. There is suffering in that, because it's not real, it's not true, it's not nurturing. It doesn't realize the amazing truth of what we really are, and our position mentally of experiencing it. How amazing. Okay, I think I get that, Shakyamuni. How in the heck do I do that? I mean, it's all well and good to understand how it's my avarice, my energetic, my mind is too fast. My mind is thousands and thousands of little monkeys grabbing. How in the world do I stop doing that so that I can experience this beatific, amazing state of being? How in the world do we do that? And that takes us to the fourth noble truth, which itself is another rabbit hole, but I won't talk about it today. I just want you to understand that the first three noble truths are all about the Buddha doing exactly what we do. He identifies, he decouples, and then he programs a fix. Life suffering, suffering attachment, decouple attachment from life to end your suffering. That's an oversimplification, but not inaccurate. So now, the next video, I predict, will probably last a little longer, because the fourth noble truth is how to practice Buddhism, basically. How to practice living this life well. How to live this life, what do I mean by well? I mean to gradually decouple our habitual attachment, our avarice for possession and owning everything in life. And I don't mean just things, I mean thoughts, actions. Really, really getting that everything is just a little wave on the ocean. It's not a separate thing, it is the ocean. We just choose to experience the wave as though it's something we can own. And just saying that sounds rather silly, doesn't it? But that's why we suffer. Because we want to own every single wave. But a wave is not separate from the ocean. A wave is of the ocean. And if we just sit and calm down and observe the waves, we can truly appreciate not only the wave, but the ocean from which it manifests. This is awakening the Buddha mind, the clear mind, the unobstructed mind, the unattached mind. Follow? So, the fourth noble truth, he's going to give us a program of behavior, and ideas, and pursuits that will help us on our path to awaken and decouple and understand a different mental acuity, a different mind, the Buddha mind. I hope that helps you. I hope that I opened some doors of understanding, maybe some insights. I truly appreciate your being here. Don't forget, if they're useful for you, you can download these as audio podcasts. The Buddhahood Podcast is the name of the podcast. And in the meantime, I wish you good health, kindness, and deep appreciation for your participation in these podcasts. Keep your practice strong, and I will see you in the next one. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hey, thank you for being here. Did you know there's a third way you can help support this channel, and it won't cost you a cent? Yep. If you are not able to be a patron on Patreon or use the PayPal me at .com at Sifu Sylvain because you don't have the financial fortune to help support this channel right now, you, as I say, always support this channel by watching, but you can also help us grow so that maybe one day we can get over 10,000 subscribers and YouTube will grace us with monetization. It's not a lot, but if you can make sure you're subscribed and share a video like a simple one, just go into the search criteria and type monk and you'll have a video that'll come up that's been up for years about what is a monk. It's called monk, who, how, where, something like that. That might be a great introduction to somebody who doesn't understand what a monk is to begin with. It's a tool. Use this channel as a tool to help you with your bodhisattva practice, and share a video to somebody who you think, oh, I know somebody who'll benefit from watching this. And in that way, you can help us grow. And that's a really good way to help your practice along as well. So, just wanted to drop that in on you in case that's something that you might find useful. Take care of yourself again, and I'll see you soon. Bye.